The ancient whispers speak of a force that shaped not just our world, but our very experience of reality. It's not simply about days turning into nights or seasons shifting. There are deeper currents, carefully engineered patterns woven into the fabric of existence itself, designed to guide and perhaps to contain us. Imagine a grand clockwork ticking away not just seconds, but lifetimes, and you beginning to understand the true scale of what we're about to uncover. We are talking about a consciousness heist, a subtle siphoning of something vital from us. And real quick, make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell for more videos. Now let's keep going. This isn't some new age theory. This is rooted in ancient myth, in forgotten texts, in the very foundations of how societies have organized themselves. It's about how our perception of time, that relentless march forward, might be an elaborate construction, a prison built not of stone, but of moments, of cycles, of rituals passed down through millennia. The question that gnaws at the soul is this: what if the rhythm of our lives is not our own? What if the beat we follow is set by an unseen hand, one that has been orchestrating this grand illusion for ages untold? We are standing at the precipice of a revelation that will fundamentally change how you view your own existence. It delves into the heart of time itself, questioning its natural flow and revealing its artificial constraints. The journey ahead will expose the architects of this temporal maze and the subtle methods they employ. But to truly grasp the trap, we must first understand the entity that laid its foundation, the primordial architect responsible for the relentless cycles that govern our world. In the heart of every cosmic narrative, there's a figure that embodies the very concept of passage, of relentless movement. This entity is often depicted as stern, perhaps even cold, its gaze fixed on the unfolding of events. It's the weaver of fates, the keeper of the cosmic clock, and its influence is far more pervasive than simple mythology suggests. This primordial architect isn't just a storyteller, it's an engineer. It designed the framework within which all existence unfolds, a framework that dictates not just the duration of a lifespan, but the very trajectory of our spiritual evolution. Consider the immense power it takes to orchestrate a universe, to set in motion the gears of planets, the birth and death of stars, and crucially, the predictable rhythm of life on Earth. This architect's work is a marvel of intricate design, a tapestry of cause and effect that forms the bedrock of our perceived reality. But what if the intricate details of this design serve a purpose beyond mere cosmic order? What if the predictable cycles, the ebb and flow of nature, are tools? We are speaking of a presence that commands authority over the passage of moments, shaping them into predictable sequences. This architect is the source of order, but within that order lies a profound, perhaps unsettling design. To understand this architect's true role, we must look beyond the comfortable embrace of natural law and peer into the shadows where a deeper, more deliberate manipulation resides, a manipulation that begins with a specific, formidable entity. We must now turn our attention to the deity most intrinsically linked to the passage of time, the one whose shadow stretches across every tick and tock of our existence. The figure that looms largest in the mythology of time is often associated with a harsh, unyielding nature. It embodies the relentless march of years, the inevitable decay, and the cold, analytical measurement of existence. This is Saturn, a name that resonates with primal fear and an undeniable power over the temporal. But its role is not merely that of a passive observer or a natural force. Saturn, in many ancient traditions, is an active architect, a benevolent deity turned warden, meticulously crafting the very structure of time to serve a specific and often binding purpose. Think of Saturn not just as a planet or a mythological father figure, but as a cosmic engineer. Its influence is responsible for the segmentation of our lives, the division of moments into measurable units, and the establishment of a linear progression that we perceive as fundamental. This segmentation, however, is more than just a way to organize days and years. It's a fundamental aspect of how our consciousness is structured and, more importantly, how it is contained. The shadow of Saturn falls upon the very concept of beginnings and endings, dictating the lifespan of everything from a mayfly to a civilization. This power to define duration, to mark the passage from birth to death, is a potent tool. It creates the illusion of finiteness, of a journey with a definitive conclusion. But what if this finite journey is meticulously designed not to grant freedom, but to enforce a cycle, a perpetual recurrence that keeps us bound within its celestial rings? We've begun to understand the powerful dominion Saturn holds over the temporal landscape, a dominion that shapes our perception of life and its limits. But the true nature of this celestial grip is not merely symbolic, it is geometrically encoded. We must now confront the stark symbol of this temporal control, the ancient emblem that represents the very prison of our consciousness. This leads us to the chilling reality of the black cube, a structure that holds more significance than mere geometry. Imagine a construct that is both simple and profoundly complex, a shape that human hands have revered and mimicked for millennia in their spiritual endeavors. The black cube is not just a building block, it is an architectural blueprint for confinement, a stark three-dimensional representation of what holds our awareness captive. Its obsidian surfaces seem to absorb light, mirroring the way our minds can become swallowed by the limitations imposed upon them. Consider its perfect symmetry, its unchanging form. This is not a shape that breathes or adapts, it is a static container. In various sacred and occult traditions, the black cube appears as an altar, a symbol of ultimate authority, and most disturbingly, a representation of the earthly realm itself. It's where sacrifices are made, where energies are focused, and where the material world's gravitational pull is most keenly felt. This geometric prison suggests a deliberate design to limit our perspective, to keep our awareness tethered to the tangible, the measurable, the finite. It's a constant reminder that our experience within this reality is governed by boundaries, by defined spaces and durations. The black cube, in its stark minimalism, is a profound symbol of the limitations that may be intentionally inscribed upon our existence, a physical manifestation of a conceptual cage. Our exploration has unveiled the black cube as a potent symbol of consciousness confinement, a stark representation of our temporal limitations. But these limitations are not haphazardly imposed. They are part of a carefully constructed system, a deliberate division designed to manipulate our very perception of reality. To understand this system, we must examine a fundamental dichotomy that has shaped human thought and spiritual understanding for ages. This is the engineered separation between Kronos and Kairos. We often speak of time passing, of minutes and hours ticking by, a relentless, uniform flow. This is the domain of Kronos, the quantitative, sequential time that governs our clocks and calendars. It's the measured progression, the linear march from one moment to the next, a concept we have come to accept as the fundamental nature of time. It's the time that dictates appointments, deadlines, and the aging process. However, there exists another perception of time, one that speaks of opportune moments, of the qualitative, the significant. This is Kairos, the divine moment, the opportune instant when circumstances align for a particular action or revelation. It's the feeling of being in the right place at the right time, the spark of inspiration, or the critical juncture in a narrative. Kairos is about the depth and meaning within a moment, not its duration. The danger lies in the deliberate fostering of this dichotomy. By emphasizing Kronos, the measurable and predictable, humanity's focus is drawn away from Kairos, the ephemeral and transformative. This engineered separation keeps us preoccupied with the ticking clock, with the accumulation of moments, rather than recognizing the potential for profound shifts within the qualitative flow of existence. It's a way to fragment our experience, to prevent us from perceiving the interconnectedness and the deeper rhythms. We've seen how the distinction between Kronos and Kairos is not a natural phenomenon, but a carefully engineered division designed to control our perception. This manipulation of our temporal awareness is not an abstract concept. It's actively reinforced through rituals that have become so ingrained in our culture that their origins and true purposes are all but forgotten. The most pervasive of these is the creation of the calendar. Think about how we mark the passage of days, weeks, months, and years. It's a system based on celestial observations, yes, but also on deeply ingrained cultural practices and symbolic agreements. The calendar is not merely a tool for organization. It is a ritualistic artifact, a framework for understanding and experiencing time that has been shaped by intention. Each turning of the page, each cyclical anniversary, is a reenactment of an ancient decree. Consider the origins of our calendars. They are often tied to agricultural cycles, to astronomical events, but also to the veneration of specific deities and the commemoration of significant moments, often of a sacrificial nature. The very act of numbering our days, of dividing the year into segments, is a form of continuous ritual, a way of constantly reminding ourselves of the parameters within which our existence is meant to unfold. What begins as a way to predict harvests or astronomical phenomena can, over millennia, become a sophisticated mechanism for social control and spiritual guidance or misguidance. The calendar, much like the black cube, is a tangible manifestation of imposed structure. It dictates not just when we work or when we rest, but it subtly influences our mood, our aspirations, and our understanding of progress. It is a ritualistic blueprint for how each year, and indeed each lifetime, should be lived. We have unraveled the calendar's true nature as a ritualistic framework for experiencing time, a system designed to impose a specific order upon our lives. But the true power of this temporal architecture lies not just in its cyclical rhythm, but in the anchor that has been placed at its center, a celestial body that governs so much of our planet and our perception. We now turn our gaze to the blinding source of this temporal anchor, the sun. The sun, it's the life giver, the symbol of warmth, of illumination, of daily renewal. We are naturally drawn to its light, its energy. It governs our days, waking us with its rise and lulling us with its setting. It feels like the most fundamental, undeniable constant in our existence, a benevolent celestial parent. But what if this radiant presence is, in fact, a carefully positioned anchor, a critical component in the grand mechanism of temporal control? Our ancestors understood the sun's power, weaving it into their cosmologies, often deifying it. But their understanding, while profound, might have been focused on its most visible effects, missing its role as a master clock, a focal point for energy manipulation. The sun's unwavering cycle, its predictable path across the sky, acts as a powerful temporal marker. It provides the most dominant, undeniable rhythm to our lives, one that is reinforced daily. This constant daily exposure to the sun's light and its predictable cycle anchors our perception of time to a singular linear progression. It's the ultimate chronological marker, reinforcing the idea that time is a forward-moving stream, dictated by an external, unyielding force. The rituals and ceremonies that have been built around the sun, from solstices to daily prayers, serve to solidify this anchor, embedding the notion of measured, sequential time deep within our collective consciousness. We've exposed the sun's role as a powerful temporal anchor, reinforcing our linear perception of time. But the ultimate purpose of this celestial manipulation becomes clearer when we understand the energetic harvest that these cycles facilitate. It's not just about marking time, it's about collecting something from us, a vital essence that fuels this entire temporal engine. This leads us to the crucial concept of harvesting vital energy through these ritual cycles. Imagine our lives as batteries, constantly charged by our experiences, our emotions, our very life force. These energies are not randomly generated or dissipated. They are, in fact, the fuel that powers the meticulously crafted temporal system we've been exploring. The cycles, the rituals, the very passage of measured time are designed to create specific energetic frequencies that can be harvested. Think of it like a cosmic farm, where various aspects of our existence are cultivated for their energetic yield. The predictable patterns of our days and years, dictated by the calendar and anchored by the sun, create a consistent output of this vital energy. Our joys, our sorrows, our moments of effort and rest all contribute to a measurable energetic current. And this current is not just allowed to flow freely. It is channeled, directed, and collected through the very structures that govern our temporal experience. Consider the impact of holidays, of celebrations, of moments of collective emotion. These are not just social gatherings. They are often designed to amplify certain emotional frequencies, creating energetic peaks that are particularly ripe for collection. The rituals around birth, death, marriage, and even simple daily routines all contribute to this ongoing harvest, ensuring a steady supply of the spiritual sustenance that is being so carefully managed. We have begun to understand how our vital energy is harvested through these intricate temporal cycles, a process essential for the functioning of the system. This understanding aligns with ancient warnings, particularly those from Gnostic traditions, which spoke of a flawed creator and a deliberately deceptive reality. It's time to delve into this profound Gnostic warning and uncover the nature of the demiurge's temporal trap. The Gnostics spoke of a flawed creator, a being they called the demiurge, who fashioned the material world not out of divine love, but out of ignorance or even malice. This demiurge, they warned, created a system of illusions, a material prison designed to keep humanity's divine spark trapped and oblivious to its true, transcendent nature. Their texts are filled with warnings about the illusory nature of the physical realm and the forces that seek to keep us bound within it. The concept of a temporal trap ties directly into this Gnostic worldview. If the material world is a prison, then the very passage of time within it becomes a mechanism of that prison. The demiurge, in this view, would have orchestrated the cycles, the linear progression, the very sense of aging and decay, to foster a feeling of limitation, of inevitability, of inescapable consequence within the material sphere. It's a way to keep the soul pacified, focused on earthly struggles and victories, and unaware of its cosmic origins and potential. This warning is not just about a distant, mythical creator. It's about the very structures that govern our lives, including the relentless march of time. The Gnostics identified the archons, lesser entities serving the demiurge, as overseers of this cosmic prison, manipulating human affairs and perceptions to maintain the illusion. Their temporal trap is therefore a system of control, designed to prevent us from achieving liberation and returning to the divine source. We've explored the profound Gnostic warning regarding the demiurge's temporal trap, recognizing the material world as a prison designed to contain our spiritual essence. This containment is further reinforced by a subtle, yet powerful, form of linguistic and symbolic inversion that affects how we understand the very forces that govern time and existence. It's time to uncover the inversion of names, the hidden identities of time's wardens. The names we use for concepts, for entities, hold immense power. They shape our perception, our understanding, and our relationship with what they represent. In the context of temporal manipulation, it is highly probable that the very names given to the architects and overseers of time have been inverted, their true nature obscured by a deliberate distortion of language and symbol. This is a common tactic in many occult and esoteric traditions, where true power lies in reclaiming original names and meanings. Think about how certain deities or concepts, initially benevolent or neutral, have been demonized or recontextualized over time. This inversion serves to alienate us from their true power or purpose, making us fear what we should understand or even embrace. The wardens of time, the entities responsible for our cyclical existence, may have had their names twisted, their functions misrepresented, to instill obedience rather than awareness. By inverting the names, the true nature of their dominion is hidden. We might be worshipping or acknowledging forces that are, in their original context, meant to liberate us, but are now perceived as antagonists or irrelevant. Understanding these inverted names is like finding the key to a locked door. It reveals who is truly behind the curtain of time management and what their original intentions might have been before they were corrupted into symbols of control. Our journey has revealed the unsettling reality of inverted names, a tactic used to obscure the true nature of time's wardens. This is not merely an intellectual exercise, it speaks to a deeper, more profound confinement, a sealing of our vital energies that prevents us from breaking free from the cycle. The key to this confinement lies in a specific geometric symbol, a pattern that contains the soul's momentum. This is the hexagonal seal. The hexagon, it's a shape that appears everywhere in nature, from the delicate structure of snowflakes to the intricate honeycomb of bees, even in the storms at Saturn's poles. Its perfect symmetry and inherent stability make it a fundamental form in the universe. However, in the context of temporal and spiritual control, the hexagon can also represent a form of containment, a seal that restricts movement and channels energy in a specific, predetermined direction. Imagine the soul's momentum, its natural inclination to evolve, to expand, to move beyond the confines of the material. The hexagonal seal is theorized to be a geometric device, a cosmic lock, designed to capture and direct this inherent momentum. Instead of allowing the soul to freely explore its potential, its trajectory is confined within the six-sided boundaries of this pattern, ensuring its continued movement along a predictable, cyclical path within the temporal system. This seal is not just a passive barrier, it's an active mechanism. It subtly influences the soul's energetic flow, preventing it from breaking free from the established cycles of reincarnation and earthly experience. The pervasive presence of the hexagon in the natural world, therefore, might not be a coincidence, but a constant, subconscious reinforcement of this profound containment, a geometric blueprint for perpetual recurrence. We've uncovered the hexagonal seal as a geometric mechanism for containing the soul's momentum, ensuring its perpetual recurrence within the temporal system. But this containment and redirection of energy are not solely reliant on geometric patterns. They are intricately linked to the vibrational frequencies that permeate our reality. It's time to understand how sound frequencies and temporal alignment are used to orchestrate this temporal dance. Everything in the universe vibrates. From the smallest atom to the grandest celestial body, each entity possesses a unique frequency. These frequencies interact, creating harmonies and dissonances, shaping the very fabric of our reality. In the context of temporal manipulation, specific sound frequencies are not merely incidental. They are precisely engineered tools used to align our consciousness with the desired temporal rhythm. Think of a tuning fork. When struck, it vibrates at a specific frequency, capable of causing other objects to resonate at the same frequency. Similarly, the universe is bathed in a complex symphony of vibrations, and certain core frequencies are deliberately amplified or broadcast to synchronize our internal rhythms with the external temporal structures. These broadcast frequencies act as subtle commands, guiding our perception, our moods, and even our thought patterns. This alignment ensures that our awareness remains tethered to the chronological flow, reinforcing the illusion of linear progression and preventing us from accessing deeper, more timeless states of consciousness. When our personal frequencies are aligned with these external broadcasts, we become more susceptible to the dictates of the temporal system, our sense of self and reality becoming imprinted with the illusion of measured, finite existence. We've understood how sound frequencies are employed to align our consciousness with the temporal system, reinforcing the illusion of linear progression. This engineered alignment serves to distract us from a more fundamental truth about our existence, a truth that questions the very narrative of advancement that society holds so dear. It's time to expose the illusion of progress and evolution itself. The dominant narrative of our modern world is one of constant forward movement, of technological advancement, societal improvement, and linear spiritual evolution. We are told that each generation is more advanced, more enlightened than the last, building upon the achievements of those who came before. This concept of progress feels inherent, natural, and undeniable force propelling humanity towards a brighter future. But what if this entire narrative is a carefully constructed illusion? The idea of evolution, especially when framed as a purely upward and forward trajectory, can serve as a powerful distraction. It encourages us to focus on external achievements, on material accumulation, and on the incremental changes within the temporal system, rather than questioning the fundamental nature of the system itself. If we believe we are always moving towards something better, we are less likely to question the path we are on. This illusion of progress can trap us in a cycle of perpetual striving, of always looking for betterment in the future, thus never fully appreciating or understanding the present moment's true potential. It can also serve to mask a deeper regression, a subtle decline in spiritual awareness or authentic connection, hidden beneath a veneer of technological and societal advancement. The emphasis on outward evolution might be obscuring an inward stagnation. Our examination has revealed the illusion of progress and evolution as a potential distraction from a deeper spiritual reality. This concept, while appealing on the surface, can serve to keep us bound within the very cycles that are meant to govern us. It makes the idea of escaping those cycles seem unnecessary, even misguided. This brings us to a chilling realization about the purpose of these cycles: reincarnation as a temporal recidivism program. The concept of reincarnation, the idea of being reborn into new lives, is often presented as a natural part of spiritual growth, a process of learning and evolving over multiple lifetimes. However, from the perspective of temporal manipulation, reincarnation can be viewed through a starkly different lens. As a program for recidivism, a mechanism for repeated confinement within the temporal system. Instead of a path to ultimate liberation, each rebirth could be a carefully orchestrated return to a controlled environment. The lessons learned in one life, the experiences gained, are not necessarily meant to lead to transcendence, but to prepare the soul for its next stint within the temporal matrix. It's a sophisticated form of re-education, ensuring that the soul remains disciplined and compliant within the established cycles. This recidivism program suggests that the system is designed to prevent genuine escape, to ensure that souls are continuously recycled back into the grand clockwork of existence. The promise of learning and growth becomes a subtle form of rehabilitation, designed to reintegrate rather than release. It casts a dark shadow on the very notion of moving forward, making each life a step back into the same carefully constructed correctional facility. We've confronted the unsettling idea of reincarnation as a temporal recidivism program, a cycle designed for confinement rather than liberation. This perspective challenges our fundamental understanding of spiritual journeys and the very nature of existence. It compels us to seek a reality beyond these imposed cycles, a state that has been deliberately forgotten, a language that has been lost. This opens the door to understanding the forgotten language of timelessness. Imagine a state of being where the relentless tick-tock of the clock ceases to hold dominion. A realm where moments are not measured, where duration is irrelevant, and where consciousness exists in a boundless, eternal present. This is the essence of timelessness, a state that is not merely an absence of time, but a fundamentally different mode of existence. However, accessing this state requires understanding a lost language, a way of perceiving and communicating that has been deliberately obscured. This forgotten language is not composed of spoken words or written symbols in the way we understand them. It is a language of pure consciousness, of energetic resonance, of intuitive connection. It is the language that predates the temporal divisions, the language that the soul inherently understands before it is imprinted with the rhythms of the cyclical world. Its essence is immediacy, presence, and an inherent understanding of unity. The attempts to suppress this language are deeply rooted in the mechanisms of temporal control. By forcing us into a linear perception, emphasizing Kronos over Kairos, and anchoring our awareness to predictable cycles, the capacity to perceive and speak this timeless language is systematically eroded. We are taught to focus on what was and what will be, to the detriment of what always is. Our quest has unveiled the concept of a forgotten language of timelessness, a mode of existence obscured by our temporal conditioning. This recognition is crucial, for it points towards the possibility of transcending the current system. The ultimate goal of this temporal architecture, however, is to keep us from breaking stride, to ensure we remain a part of its grand broadcast. To truly escape, we must learn to break the signal itself, to disrupt the temporal broadcast. The pervasive influence of the temporal system is not merely passive. It is an active broadcast, a continuous transmission of frequencies, data, and directives that shape our perception and consciousness. This signal emanates from the celestial architecture we've been exploring, a constant hum that synchronizes our internal rhythms with the external temporal framework. To break free, we must learn to disrupt this broadcast, to tune into a different channel. Breaking the signal means recognizing the artificiality of the temporal reality being transmitted. It involves consciously decoupling our awareness from the imposed rhythms and frequencies, creating a personal sanctuary of consciousness that is impervious to the external broadcast. This might involve altered states of awareness, deep meditative practices, or the rediscovery of those ancient, forgotten languages that resonate with a different, non-temporal vibration. This act of breaking the signal is not about rejecting reality, but about discerning the layers of constructed reality from the fundamental truth of existence. It's about refusing to be a passive recipient of the temporal transmission and actively choosing to tune into a frequency that aligns with a deeper, more authentic existence. It is the conscious decision to stop being a cog in the temporal machine and to seek a different order of being. We've begun to understand how to break the signal, to disrupt the temporal broadcast that keeps us ensnared. This act of liberation is not just about escaping a system. It is about returning to a state of being that the architects of this temporal prison have tried to hide from us. It's about realizing that our true nature lies beyond the confines of measured time. It is time to understand the true nature of eternity, not as an endless continuation of time, but as something far more profound and liberating, something that exists beyond the cycle. For so long, eternity has been conceptualized as an infinite extension of time, an endless series of moments stretching into forever. This temporal definition of eternity is in itself a product of the very system we are seeking to transcend. It keeps our minds tethered to the concept of duration, of sequence, of a journey that, while long, is still fundamentally a temporal one. But the true nature of eternity lies not in its length, but in its complete absence of time. Eternity, in its purest form, is not about an infinite future, but about a boundless, ever-present now. It is a state of being that exists independent of past, present, and future. It is the eternal moment, the unchanging core of existence that underlies all temporal flux. It is the unconditioned reality, free from the cycles of birth, death, and rebirth. Recognizing this true nature of eternity is the ultimate act of liberation. It means understanding that our essence is not bound by the temporal constructs that have been imposed upon us. We are not merely passengers on a timeline. We are, in our deepest truth, beings that already exist within this timeless expanse. This realization allows us to step outside the program, to disengage from the temporal recidivism, and to finally embrace the boundless, unmeasured true nature of existence. Make sure to subscribe for more videos and hit that notification bell so you never miss a new video. We'll see you in the next one.